Hey everybody, it's your old pal CK News here, and I'm so excited to be talking to you today about something that's both super interesting and maybe a little bit close to home for some of us. We're diving deep into the fascinating world of states that hate outsiders. Okay, maybe hate is a strong word, but let's just say some states are a little more particular about who they welcome with open arms. Look, moving to a new place is always a big deal, right? New job, new friends, new grocery store where you don't know where they hide the peanut butter. But what if, on top of all that, you also had to navigate a whole new set of unspoken rules and local customs just to avoid getting the side eye from your new neighbors? Well, that's the reality for folks moving to certain states in the US of A. We're talking about places with strong local identities where traditions run deep, and newcomers might be met with a healthy dose of skepticism. Let's get started. First up, we're heading to the Gem State, a land of majestic mountains, pristine lakes, and enough potatoes to satisfy even the most dedicated French fry enthusiast. That's right, it's Idaho. Now, Idaho is undeniably beautiful, and the people there are generally known for their friendliness. But, and this is a big but, Idaho also has a bit of a reputation for being a little, shall we say, independent. See, Idahoans are fiercely proud of their state and their way of life. They value self-reliance, hard work, and a good pair of hiking boots. And while they're not exactly going to run you out of town for being from somewhere else, let's just say they're not exactly handing out welcome baskets and howdy neighbor pies either. One of the biggest things you'll notice about Idaho is its strong conservative leanings. I'm talking like leave your liberal agenda at the state line kind of conservative. This isn't to say that everyone in Idaho fits into one neat little box, but it's definitely something to be aware of, especially if you're coming from a more, shall we say, progressive part of the country. In Idaho, it's all about respecting the great outdoors. We're talking leave no trace camping, responsible fishing, and absolutely no talking about pineapple on pizza. People get really passionate about pineapple on pizza. You also don't want to be caught bad-mouthing potatoes. Yeah, I know it sounds weird, but potatoes are kind of a big deal in Idaho. They're the state's #1 agricultural product, and people take their spuds seriously. So, if you're not a fan of mashed, baked, or fried potatoes, you might want to keep that little tidbit to yourself. Be patient, be respectful, and most importantly, be yourself. Next, we're moseying on down to Wyoming, the Cowboys state, where wide open spaces stretch as far as the eye can see, and the air is filled with the sound of, well, mostly wind, but sometimes cows mooing and pickup trucks rumbling down dusty roads. Wyoming is a place of breathtaking beauty, rugged individualism, and a whole lot of live and let live attitude. But don't let that laid-back vibe fool you. Wyoming also has its own set of unwritten rules for newcomers. First and foremost, Wyomingites, is that what they're called? Wyomingans, whatever, you know who I mean, are fiercely independent. They value their freedom, their privacy, and their right to swing a lasso without hitting a nosy neighbor's satellite dish. So, if you're the type who likes to borrow a cup of sugar every 5 minutes or invite the whole block over for a spontaneous karaoke party, Wyoming might not be the best fit for you. Another thing to remember about Wyoming is that it's deeply rooted in its history. Ranching, mining, and oil and gas extraction have shaped the state's economy and its identity for generations. Now, this doesn't mean you need to know how to ride a horse or rope a steer to survive in Wyoming, although it couldn't hurt. But it's important to respect the state's heritage and the people who built it. Oh, and speaking of heritage, let's talk about cowboys. Yes, cowboys are still a thing in Wyoming, and they're not just there for the tourists. These are real-deal cattle-wrangling, fence-mending, Stetson-wearing cowboys, and they're a proud bunch. So if you happen to find yourself in a conversation with a cowboy, here's a tip. Don't ask if they've ever ridden a giraffe. Hold on to your Stetsons, folks, because we're heading north to Big Sky Country, a land of towering mountains, pristine rivers, and enough flannel shirts to clothe a small army. That's right, it's Montana, a state that's as beautiful as it is rugged, and just as welcoming as it is. Well, let's just say Montanans don't exactly roll out the welcome wagon for every newcomer who crosses their path. See, Montana has a long and proud history of self-sufficiency. It's a place where people value hard work, independence, and a good pair of waterproof boots. And while Montanans are generally friendly and welcoming to visitors, becoming a true local is a whole different ballgame. It takes time, patience, and a genuine desire to embrace the Montana way of life. One of the first things you'll notice about Montana is its strong sense of community. People in small towns look out for each other, and they're quick to lend a helping hand to a neighbor in need. But this strong sense of community also means that outsiders can sometimes feel like they're on the outside looking in. It takes time to earn the trust and respect of your Montana neighbors, but once you do, you've got friends for life. Another thing to keep in mind is that Montana is a place where people value their space. And by space, I mean like a lot of space, like you can go days without seeing another human being kind of space. So, if you're coming from a big city where you're used to having everything at your fingertips, Montana might take some getting used to. Montana is an outdoor enthusiast's paradise with world-class hiking, fishing, hunting, and skiing. But here's the thing, Montanans take their outdoor ethics seriously. Get ready to trade in your cowboy boots for a pair of cozy slippers because we're heading east to Vermont, the Green Mountain State, a land of rolling hills, charming villages, and enough maple syrup to satisfy even the sweetest tooth. Vermont is often described as a place where time seems to slow down, where life is simpler, and where the air is filled with the smell of pine needles and freshly baked apple pie. Sounds idyllic, right? And it can be. But Vermont also has a certain je ne sais quoi that can make it a little tricky for newcomers to navigate. You see, Vermont has a strong sense of tradition. It's a place where people value community, self-reliance, and a good pair of flannel-lined jeans. And while Vermonters are generally friendly and welcoming on the surface, there's a certain reservedness that can take some getting used to. It's not that Vermonters are unfriendly per se, it's more like they're discerning. They want to get to know you before they fully let you into their circle. One of the first things you'll notice about Vermont is its strong sense of community. People in small towns look out for each other, and they're quick to lend a helping hand to a neighbor in need. But this strong sense of community also means that outsiders can sometimes feel like they're on the outside looking in. It takes time to earn the trust and respect of your Vermont neighbors, but once you do, you've got friends for life. Another thing to keep in mind is that Vermont is a place where people value their privacy. Vermonters are generally polite and unassuming, but they also value their personal space. So, don't be surprised if your new neighbors don't invite you over for a barbecue the minute you move in. They're probably just giving you time to unpack and settle in. From the Green Mountains to the shores of Lake Champlain, Vermont is an outdoor enthusiast paradise. Buckle up, Buttercup, because we're heading north to the last frontier, a land of towering mountains, glaciers that could swallow a small country and more moose than you can shake a stick at. That's right, it's Alaska, the largest state in the Union, and arguably the most challenging to call home. Now don't get me wrong, Alaska is undeniably beautiful, with a rugged, untamed wilderness that will take your breath away. But it's not for the faint of heart. Alaska will test you, push you to your limits, and make you question every life choice that led you to this frozen wonderland. First and foremost, Alaska is, well, remote, like really, really remote. Sure, there are cities like Anchorage and Fairbanks, but once you venture beyond those urban oases, you're in a whole different world. A world where the sun disappears for months at a time, where the temperature can drop to 50 below, and that's before you factor in the wind chill, and where the nearest grocery store might be a 6-hour drive by dog sled. So, yeah, if you're not prepared to embrace the solitude, the darkness, and the occasional close encounter with a grizzly bear, Alaska might not be the best fit for you. But for those who are brave enough, or maybe just crazy enough, to call Alaska home, there's a certain allure, a sense of freedom, of adventure, of being completely and utterly unplugged from the hustle and bustle of the lower 48. Well, folks, there you have it. A whirlwind tour of some of the states that might just make you work a little harder to earn your local stripes. Look, moving to a new place is always an adventure, and it's important to remember that every state has its own unique culture and customs. But hey, life is all about embracing new experiences, right? So, if you're up for the challenge, pack your bags, grab your sense of humor, and get ready to dive headfirst into a new adventure. Just remember to pack your patience, your sense of adventure, and maybe a really warm coat. Thanks for watching. If you found this video helpful, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell icon for more content. And remember, every state has its quirks, but with the right mindset, you can make any place feel like home.